Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Jen. Welcome back to the Integrative Health Podcast with Dr. Jen. Today, we have such an exciting topic on sound frequencies. This is going to be so cool. Today, we're going to be talking to Linda Bamber-Olson. She developed a passion for sound after being born deaf in one ear. Her love for percussion revealed the healing power of vibrations, this inspiring her to explore sound as a wellness tool. This, paired with frustration over limited options during her mother and sister's battle with breast cancer, led her to create BRAS, B-R-A-S, a business focused on thermography and breast health. Linda's passion cultivated in WaveWatch, a wearable device using sound frequencies to promote wellness, now widely praised for providing instant relief. A sought-after speaker, she's appeared on podcasts with experts such as Carrie Majada and Dr. Brian Artis, sharing insights on sound healing. Linda's groundbreaking work continues to inspire, and her book detailing her health journey is set to release in early 2025. Welcome, Linda. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you. It's very exciting to be on and be able to talk and let people know more about frequencies.
Yes, absolutely. Tell us about your health journey and being born deaf in one ear and how that has impacted what you've thought about health.
Yes. Well, they didn't discover that I was completely deaf in one ear until I was a third grader. So that lets me be a speculator. How did I fool everybody, for so long? So
Right.
I must have been good at actually reading, lips and putting my hands on people is what they said, and maybe feeling some vibrations, and stopping and absorbing sound a little bit more because I had to face one way or the other. So really all of those ideas are actually paramount in a tool that I developed, which I call the WaveWatch, later in life. So, early sounds are very interesting. And then when I was in college, I learned to play drums. Now in high school, I played saxophone and things and clarinet and trombone, but in college, I went to percussion drums and I continued to play drums for 35 years in a band. So those drums must have done a lot to me, but I didn't even connect it for all those years, And so it wasn't until later that I got into the health field. I was a teacher and then transitioned when several things happened in my life, that needed a little bit more answer from me why this was happening. So.
Right. I think that is the story of all of us that are really passionate about wellness, is that we've had personal battles or family battles. So if you mind sharing about your mother and sister and their battle with breast cancer.
Yes, I had actually transitioned into using a tool called the BioScan about 3 years before my mother and sister were diagnosed with breast cancer, or at least a couple of years. And that was just from something in my own life. I was diagnosed with a problem that my doctors wanted to give me some antibiotics for. And because it was a vaginal, infection, the doctors said I needed these antibiotics. And I'm going, well, what about my husband? He goes, no, you don't. He doesn't need anything, So of course I listened to him. I took an antibiotic and of course got a huge yeast infection. So I went to someone in our area who had this BioScan tool and took my husband. And voila, both of us immediately had the same information come up on a bacterial infection that the doctor would not recognize. And so that taught me right then that there's a whole lot of information that we are missing in the medical community, because here it was hitting me in the face, So I quit my teaching career of about 15 years. By that time, I had taught and started learning this biomeridian because I already had a degree in foods and nutrition. And then my mother and sister's lives changed when they both had breast cancer a couple of years later. And my medical doctors just told me to have a double mastectomy and forget about it. You know, I say this all the time. It's like, I can't imagine what my mind was saying, but I was trying to face them politely and say, no, I think I can think of something better to do than that. So actually what I did was get an ND certification and continue with the IHT testing, the bioscan testing, and developed a business called BRAS, Breast Research Awareness and Support. And so for the last almost, I get confused on my years pretty easily now, 18 years, I think, I have been working with women's breast health and teaching them easier, non-traditional alternative ideas that they can use to have better breast health. And I think that's pretty important. I'd also do thermography, which is a non-invasive, non-radiation way to scan your breasts. And then I provide the IHT and work with women of all kinds. But after many years and working with thousands of women, I was kind of overwhelmed with all of the ideas that women had for that cause breast problems and even breast cancer. So I
Right.
don't want to keep talking too much. Does that make sense, Dr. Jen?
Yeah. And if you guys are interested to learn more about thermography, you can check out her website. We'll link that. And also, I have a podcast from a few years ago. You guys can listen all about it. But I agree with you. It's kind of overwhelming. It's not just get a mammogram and you're fine. We'll catch the cancer. No, like we need to start preventing breast cancer when we're in our 20s. Actually, even when our period starts, right? There's little things we can do all day. So I think with wellness, we focus on prevention and not just detection. So I think that is a lot different, but also we want safe ways to detect something that is wrong, because sometimes, unfortunately, we shut down our symptoms, we ignore them, we don't, go to the root cause. So that can definitely be concerning. So the bras sounds amazing, and that's beautiful. How did your sister and your mother do?
Now, this was just at the very start, and so they did do traditional methods. And one, I think my mother had radiation, and my sister had chemotherapy. And they're both fine today, 16 years later. They did not have a recurrence until just recently, and my mother did pass away. She was in a assisted living, but they were a little bit worried about her breasts then. But you know, basically that was a lot of years to be just fine without any other intervention. So they actually did pretty well. But I started teaching them things that I had learned. And so that really made it exciting. And so over the years, I learned that, women can have breast problems from their teeth. 99% of the women do not realize that there are 8 teeth, 2 up and 2 down on each side, that can drain toxins down into their breasts and actually be connected with breast cancer. So thermography can show that trail if you're interested, if you're having any trouble. You can see it. You don't have to just have a mammogram, and which tells you nothing. So that's one of the main things that I have been teaching women, and how to take better care of their teeth. And then other women were having problems with E. coli. E. coli is now connected with breast problems. Epstein-Barr virus is connected with it. Many parasites are connected with it. I actually had a woman that was having extreme breast problems because she got bit by a horse. You know, so
Wow.
it goes on and on and on,
Yeah.
all the reasons. And I haven't even mentioned emotions. Can you believe that?
Right.
Not a hard thing. Think about it. And
Oh,
so,
absolutely. And stress with that. But yeah, so Epstein-Barr, all of these stealth viruses, they're imbalancing the immune system. They're causing stress on the body. It's affecting estrogen detox pathways. It's affecting our immune system. When our immune system isn't properly functioning, that can lead to cancer. So yeah, Linda, I totally agree. It's so important to dig deeper,
Mhm.
and create like a health timeline. Like if you're listening out there, just write right from when you can remember, or birth, or ask a parent, to now, write on that health timeline, and then you can correlate things back. It happens all the time.
Mhm.
So you you have kind of mentioned about wave watch and frequencies, and how frequencies can help with healing. Can you tell us a little bit more about the frequencies you're talking about?
Yeah, we're ready to get into that, I think. So, because of these years of working with women, I had this idea 16 years ago to put frequencies on a wave watch after I started working with the bioscan. and this particular tool that you kind of featured on another podcast that I was listening to. And so, I went and tried to have it developed, and the costs were pretty astronomical, but the technology that I wanted wasn't even there. So I had to wait a few years. And then, I was riding around, and I hope this story makes sense to your audience. But I did trips, and I actually worked with Amish cultures and did some scanning and some thermography for them. And I was driving back from working with a group of women, and God just kind of knocked me over the head, and it's like, it's time to develop this. It's time to develop this tool. It's been setting for 10 years. So all of a sudden, I had just been talking and asking and saying, what do I do? What do I do? And I was most worried about all of the things that you could do for breast health. I was teaching women a lot of different things. And to me, it was almost overwhelming because women had so many problems. And, God just told me it's frequencies. The answer for you is frequencies. So I started looking and learning, and there was a frequency already measured over 100 years ago for thousands and thousands of self-care, healthcare ideas. Now, you might be familiar with it from Rife machines or learning about Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. Now, my frequencies are acoustical. I put them into the sound range, the natural sound range. So all you have to think about is, you've heard a song, and sometimes by the end of the song, you're just moving and grooving, and, your whole attitude has changed. And that shows you and showcases you exactly how easy it is for acoustical sounds to change your body. So I just needed to get these frequencies to people. And the easiest way, in my opinion, for years, and what I tried to do with a patent, 16 years ago, and I get to say that was before the Apple Watch even came out. I was trying to get frequencies on a watch, but couldn't get it all done at that particular point in time. But I did get it done. And I'm really kind of having fun saying I didn't retire. I refired. So when I was 65 was when God kind of knocked me over the head again and said, get busy, So
Well,
I got it,
I love
got it
that.
developed.
Yeah, well, I love how you said that, like, you're like, you got that nudge, right? That you were
Right.
like, okay, but you were retired. So I love it. So what's beautiful about your story, what I take from it is that you were obedient to God's calling to bring this to fruition. So it's, we're grateful for that. That's amazing. So here you are, ready to retire. And
And
you're
I
like, why don't
refired
I just
instead.
create a company?
Yes. So I was able to, work with frequencies and get them all put together and hire a prototype designer to help me actually get them onto a watch. And then testing began with my prototype. And I had women who I had worked for or worked with breast health. And, as they came into my office for about a year, I was doing some testing. And so I still cry, but I had 9 women come in, who tested my prototype who actually did have a breast lump. And I'm not saying this is a double blind study or it was verified or anything. I'm just saying that testimonies from 9 women said that their breast lump almost went away or completely went away in about 30 minutes wearing my prototype Wave watch. So I still cry
Wow.
about that. And again, I wasn't saying it was anything but a lump, and lymph node problems and things like that. And then also people came in, women who were getting some testing done by me. They'd say, oh, can you do anything for kidney stones? Well, 25 women, that was a huge problem. And they had a turnaround, their pain was gone. And when we did a urine sample in about 30 minutes, their urine was full of flack and dark and, salt and pepper flakes and, all kinds of amazing changes and colors. So that was truly amazing. So you think about it, all they were doing was wearing a watch. Now it was square shaped at the time. The original watch was square, but they were absorbing frequencies. And that is not really unlike lithotripsy. Lithotripsy is ultrasound frequencies, which are completely different and a lot harder on your body, where the Wave watch had frequencies that were very specific and precise for kidney stones. And within about 30 minutes, their whole body countenance changed completely, So the list goes on, and then I've done a little bit more testing with my biomeridian or bioscan system. If you want me to, tell about that one too, with parasites. But
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So how does it exactly work for those that want to know the mechanism, like the watch, how does it emit the frequencies that you want?
you know, um, I think we want to make things so hard today. Um, we have supplements and things that, they have to break down, and they're taking a specific, they're breaking vitamin C down into 200 different, ideas, and taking this and that, this out and this out, and putting it here and there, that kind of an idea, and making it simplistic. But I like that idea, keep it simple, stupid. And to me, it's like, okay, sound can come through the ears, but sound is also absorbed by every cell in your skin and by all of your bones. So all I had to do to figure out to get sound into somebody's body was use a speaker. So on the back of the Wave Watch is a speaker. Okay. And so on the front side, when you make your selection out of over 1,100 different ideas that have actually been put into about 145 different categories, all you have to do is touch a button. And I don't know if you can see, but right on the bottom here, I have calming. Okay. So I am playing calming right now, or I was playing calming. And when it was playing the frequencies, I was absorbing it through the back of my wrist. And basically, what happens is that every cell has 70 different receptors. And when they're feeling a vibration, they start to vibrate. And then this complete cell vibrates, and it causes the next cell to vibrate, and the next cell vibrates. And then it just whips or zips through your system faster than the speed of sound. We
Yeah.
know that sound goes through water, very, very quickly, faster than the speed of sound. So it really is very simplistic. You are absorbing sound in a different method. Now, it's completely ancient. I mean, what did ancient people do? What did God do? He gave us sound. He gave us everything we need within a short, distance or parameter around us for our health. And he gave us our voices. They actually have a study done with a couple of women who had breast cancer, and someone who was a composer, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of drawing a blank on the name here, and I need to do a better job of acknowledging that. But there was a study done, and a composer taught them to hum a certain tone for 3 to 4 hours a day for 3 months. And then when they went back in, one woman's cancer was completely gone, and the other one, when they did surgery, they really didn't find much. Now, that's only 2 people. But what I'm saying is, we do have starting to have some proof that sound can change your body. I'm sorry, I can't hum 3 hours for 3 months, but I can wear a watch easy,
Right. I
So
love
that
it.
makes it where everybody can use this tool very, very easily. Okay. They're starting to have all kinds of experiments to know that sound can change many, many different problems that we have in our lives. So this was just kind of developed right at that, start of the interest in frequencies again.
I
So
love
I'd
it.
love to, yeah.
Yeah. And I think what I always go back to is it's like when you sing lullabies to your kids and they settle down and they hear that frequency, and singing is great for us to do because it is vibrating the throat and causing a little bit activation, that vagal nerve coming down. So we know sound and frequencies is great. But what I like about your product, honestly, is it's not new agey, right? Because there's a lot of problems where as a Christian, I struggle with things like, sound frequency and stuff like that. And it's like, it doesn't need to be a sound bath where you're doing weird meditations. It could just be using
Mhm.
scientific frequencies to help as another modality. So that's one thing I like, because that could be something that people question, like, oh, is this new agey or is this unbiblical? But like what you said, these these sound frequencies, we know that cells react to them, and we know that God made it this way. So we're just
Right.
utilizing that.
And you know what I like to say is you just look at the Bible, Genesis 1, 2, the second verse basically says right in there that God was hovering, and hovering is another word for vibrating, and now we have tools called cymatics or, an idea, and they can actually show us a picture of a vibration or a frequency. And they know that different vibrations have kind of shaped our world, it changed, and everything vibrates and can change. So we stand on, the earth, the biggest rock of them all that vibrates, and we are absorbing frequencies and energy from the earth. We can absorb frequencies from anything, or we can share our frequencies. So an easy idea is we tell people that you are actually absorbing frequencies through your left hand a little bit better. That's kind of how we were made. And then we shake with our right hand, so we're sharing our energy when we touch somebody more with our right hand, and we're absorbing energy more with our left hand. So that's why we tell you to wear it on your left hand. And you can actually share this watch with other people. One of the neatest ideas I have is from a gentleman who called and said that he had bought the Wave Watch for his wife with Parkinson's. And then you could tell he got a little embarrassed. He was trying to figure out what to say. He was clearing his throat and going, and then he just blurts out, and we sleep really close together. And I
Aw.
just thought that was so sweet. And I'm going, okay. And then he blurts out again, and I could feel her frequencies when she wore the Wave Watch. And he said, I got up the next morning and my feet didn't hurt. And I said, that's neat. Of course, it's like, wow, that's neat. And he goes, no, you don't really understand. My feet have hurt for 15 years. I've been on meds for 15 years. So
Wow.
all he did was snuggle with his wife. That was my neatest Valentine's story. All he did was snuggle with his wife, and her frequencies from the Wave Watch got shared with him, got absorbed into him. And something about a Parkinson's frequency, which has to do with neuropathy, obviously, and nerves, was exactly what spoke to his body. And within 2 weeks, he was off of his medications. Now, I'm not telling you should do that, and I think he went to the doctor, those kind of things. But to me, that's very special. So we have people who use their Wave Watches and share it with their grandchildren. Your grandbaby could have be crying and screaming, and you could put calming on the Wave Watch and hold your baby, and that would go through. We've got many testimonies of people, I think it's up to 6 or 7 now. People called me and said they were on an airplane and there was a baby in front of them that was screaming their head off, and they put the Wave Watch on calming, and all of a sudden the baby is calming down, So when
Wow.
that many people call you out
Love
of the
it.
blue, it's a pretty fun testimony.
Love it. So what are the things that inhibit positive frequencies? I mean, because like you said, because I feel different. So we moved from Ohio to Tennessee, and we're on property and land now. And I just feel different, right? You just feel different. And we know going to the beach, and there's, different negative ions and that kind of stuff. But sound is like a whole nother thing. So what inhibits it? Because we live in like a toxic soup bowl right now,
Oh,
right?
you are asking such a great question, Dr. Jen, because people hopefully are realizing by now that EMFs are one of the worst things that we have in our lives right now. They may be some of the most dangerous things. So if you're wearing a Fitbit, you're going to be having some problems at some point or another. If you're wearing something, I'm sorry, I don't know if I should say brands or not, but if you're wearing a watch that's connected to the internet, you are absorbing negative frequencies. And it doesn't matter how much you are walking barefoot on the earth. Those are good frequencies. You're absorbing the resonance from the earth, and you still have your watch on. Now, if you have your Wave Watch on, you have some frequencies to block EMFs or to, detox from them. But if you're wearing those other types of things, you can be having some problems that will really, really mess with your body. And I have examples of this. I have a lady who came into my bra's office, And if you just came on, that was my office was breast research awareness and support. So I worked with women's breast health. And she had worn her cell phone in her bra, and she had 3 kinds of cancer underneath that cell phone. I had another lady who started work and had to change her, work schedule and started wearing her cell phone in her pocket. And within 6 months, she had a huge tumor that had to be, ovarian tumor that had to be removed. And the worst one that we're not thinking about, I had an elderly lady that was a little bit sideways. She wasn't, her posture wasn't good. And she had a lifeline type alert, and it was hanging, crooked over her body. And again, within 6 to 8 months, she has breast cancer under that alert. So, just those 3 examples, let alone people coming in saying they were wearing something, and all their friends actually by that time were saying, hey, take off your, internet connection. That's what you're doing to yourself. So we have some toxic frequencies out there, but music, our voices, instruments, listening to natural ideas can be very, very helpful. Natural sounds, your body can absorb them in so many different ways. And this is the easiest way and can be very specific. Now, some people have used tuning forks. Are you into those, Dr. Jan?
No, not really. I had some people when I was lost in the new age, the sound bowl healing and the tuning forks, and then that's why I wanted to differentiate between those. So, but I mean, you could just use them. It's all the intention you put into it, right? When people
Right.
believe that something can heal more than God is where it's the problem. So I don't use them a lot, but it would be about the same thing as the sound coming from the wave watch, correct?
Well, that's what I was kind of where I was going, because people talk about tuning forks, and you might go to somebody's office that has tuning forks. They have 6 to 8, maybe setting there, and each one of them will make one frequency, if I'm correct. Well, the Wave Watch has about 24,000 frequencies on it.
Wow.
Okay. So there's no way that can be duplicated, that way. So, we have, and then sometimes people will listen to things on the internet, and I like to too. One of my favorite numbers is 432. That's what I named my overall business. That's supposed to be the energy of the world. And, they'll listen to 432, which is really good and soothing for you, but it's on the computer, or it's on your cell phone. It's not a pure sound. So once you get to the Wave Watch, which is not attached to anything, it is actually making the sound right on the watch itself, basically that way. And so you are absorbing it. And again, you don't have to hear it. No one else has to hear it unless you want them to and to share it. And sometimes people turn it up. I didn't get to animals yet. They'll turn it up and put it on anxiety and sit there, and their dog or their cat, will really react to it, and actually soothe down. So these frequencies can be used, and they are very simplistic because they're acoustical sounds. We're not messing with low ultrasounds or low sounds or high ultrasounds.
How do you pick the different, you said it had a bunch, like thousands of different frequencies for specific sounds. So how do you pick which frequencies for like anxiety calming? I know there's different ones for like cleansing and detox. How did you formulate those?
Those actually are a variation from Dr. Reif. And then a
Oh,
lot of
awesome.
that started from from Tesla, from Nikola Tesla. He had
Okay.
his own, they said, vibration plate. And I just love to say that his friend was Mark Twain, and they messed around a lot with this vibration plate, that had different vibrations on it. And so Nikola Tesla had a lot to do with developing frequencies. No big surprise. So these frequencies are simply labeled. So once you turn it on, there are different categories. And I really don't know if you can see this. This is my screen. Let me go back one. So right here, these are different categories. So this one is labeled chronic, emotion, and germs. And like if I would touch germs, we would actually, again, be using part of Nikola Tesla's ideas, because he was the first to say that everything has its own resonance. Everything has a frequency. And then that frequency, when it meets something else with the same frequency, that's a resonance. They meet together, and that will cause them to resonate and actually self-amplify. And Tesla's idea was that he called that the mortal oscillation rate. So if you have the frequency, quote unquote, for a virus, and that virus is setting in your body, and you have the same frequency introduced into your body, whether you hear it, you feel it, or it goes through your bones, supposedly, which I think is proven true, those two frequencies from different sources will meet and resonate, self-amplify, fall apart, die, kill, whatever phrase you want to use. So that's what we're doing here. So like if we go to germs, we are just picking from some different ideas. There's cold sore support, common cold support, germ support, EB, immune response support. And so the list goes down and across. So we have several ideas. Here's microbial balance, respiratory support, and you are your own self-care person. So as soon as you pick an idea that you are interested in, and if you pick one that you're not sure about, it's not going to hurt you. It's a song. Don't forget that. It's a song. It does sound like a bee buzz. Does that make sense a little bit? It's like an insect sound a little bit more. It's not like a singing song. But if you pick a song that isn't necessarily the perfect one for you, it just goes right on through your system. But if there's something else in your system resonating with that same frequency, they will meet and interact and rebalance. Something will change. So I was going to see if I could show this, turn this up for you. You just draw a line across here and set up the. You think anybody can hear that?
I can't maybe, but
Okay.
but it's very subtle, and I'll wear it and on my wrist, and it will kind of sometimes it'll have like a dinging noise because it will rub up against my bracelets, and then I'll move it. But it's very subtle. It's just it's an extra modality, right? And one question I have for you. So with a Rife machine, you can sometimes get Herx reactions with that, where you're killing. So the Rife machine's mainly used for Lyme disease a lot, and you would be killing off the Lyme using this, the vibrations and the sound frequency. And some people, if they weren't detoxified and prepped properly, they would have some Herx or die-off reactions. Are you seeing that at all with the specific detox protocols?
We have maybe a couple times, but it's not the something that happens all the time. And that's because if you actually played our folder, which it's in a folder called First Wave, and then Lyme Wave for Lyme's disease is one of the choices. And then when you play it, this was actually a long one. This is a 3-hour folder because we have included so many things in here, such as detox, and strengthen your immune system so that you do not have that Herxheimer's reaction, So we used to have these individual, and then I spent a lot of time teaching people how to combine and say, if you're killing a germ, you want to make sure you're getting a detox. So play the detox next. So we cut all that out. We just put it all together for you, and you just click one idea and everything is included in there. So that makes it much, much easier. So that's why I think that we don't have, but I can't say it's perfect. Everybody has a little bit different reaction. And some people have no reaction at all and don't realize that anything is going on, and say maybe their knee's hurting, and, they wear it and then they get up and it's like, oh, it doesn't hurt now. They might not have felt anything, where somebody else actually might feel a little bit of a vibration, an energy of some kind, but it can be very subtle, or people might not feel it at all. Now, I should tell this one. I told you that I'm deaf. I'm missing parts in my ear, I'm still waiting for a miracle, but I have had 7 people who are miracles because they lost their hearing slowly. And once they got the Wave Watch, they wore the frequencies for deafness and for ear problems. And 7 people have taken off their hearing aids after wearing the Wave Watch.
Amazing.
So, do you think I cry sometimes?
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. What about tinnitus? Have you heard? people that
I'm
helping?
actually, I'm a truthful person, but I'm going to say I think that's one of the weaker ones on things that for the ears, or for the whole thing. I
Yeah.
think it is
Tinnitus
maybe a
is hard.
50-50. Tinnitus is very
That's,
different,
but 50-50 isn't
Mhm.
bad. And for those listening
Okay.
out there, tinnitus is very, very hard to treat. So
Yes, it is
I was
very
just
hard.
curious because the sound frequency. I think it's a lot of inflammation with that too, which this would help with.
Right.
So
Mhm.
how often would someone use this or wear it? Could they just wear it at night? Could they just wear it maybe an hour a day? What do you usually recommend?
Um, it is very unique. You are your own self-care person. This is still a general wellness device, but what I do suggest is that if you're, having some anxiety, play it, morning and evening, for the time allotted, which is about an hour and 4 minutes, and if you listen to it really, really closely, about every 8 minutes, it changes frequency sounds because, like I said, we've built different ideas in there that work together. And so you might hear a sound change. Okay. But some people love to play it longer during the day. And that's all right also because it does have a icon that you can click to make it just keep repeating. Okay. Now, we do have a sleep program on here that lasts about 8 hours, and it really is set according to the time you go to bed. So when you touch sleep, it will say, seriously, 8 o'clock, because people do go to sleep at that time, 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 13. That was silly, wasn't it? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3. Anyway, you get the gist of what I was trying to say. And you touch it and set it according to the time you're going to bed. And then make sure that you have the correct icon for it to continue playing all night long, going from 1 hour to the other. And what's happening is that your body has a circadian rhythm, it has certain ideas, like the Chinese body clock. If you've ever looked at that, they have all kinds of ideas that certain organ systems are taking the lead role in your body at that particular time and could use some support. So if you wake up from 1 to 3 in the morning, that basically tells you your liver isn't working good enough. So if you were, playing the wave watch on sleep, it would go through thyroid, gallbladder, liver, you get my idea, lungs, and also different hormones that are in play, the vagus nerve, and it's chock full of things to help support your body all night long and increase sleep.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It sounds like such a great product. So super, super excited to learn about it and what it can do and the success stories. Now, I want to go a little off topic. We were talking before the podcast a little bit about the sky and
Oh,
chemtrails, and you got really excited about that. So let's just talk about that because a lot of people are curious. Is it real? What's the difference between con and chemtrails?
well, I'm not sure I'm an expert at this, but I think where we got started on this, you were asking me how, did I wear the Wave Watch? And I said, well, it's on my wrist all day long, because, maybe I'll have a headache and all I have to do is just touch the button. I'm not looking for a pill, or doing anything that's
Right.
not natural. Or I mentioned if I see a chemtrail, I can put my detox on for environmental problems. And this is very real to me. I live in the Olathe, Kansas area, and somebody shared some pictures with me and didn't think to have them, available, but I have posted them on YouTube before, I believe. But basically, they were outside in the summer and a huge storm came up, thunderstorm. They said it was very different. And it started lightning and then all of a sudden started hailing. So they ran inside and, that was the end of the story. Well, the next morning, they got up and the hail was still on their patio. Now, this is summertime. And when they looked closer at it, they started taking pictures, and there was basically an oil spot. And then there was a piece of hail in the middle of the oil spots. So then they kind of pulled together the hail and took a picture of that. They tried to verify everything. And then they have a picture of picking up the hail and it's falling apart and it's plastic.
Oh, gross.
So they sent it in, and I haven't caught up to know exactly, but we had plastic forming into hail kind of balls and falling out of our skies here. Now, you can't tell me that we don't have chemicals in the air. You will never convince me that something is not going on. And I don't,
Exactly, exactly. And I don't remember, I looked at the sky a lot when I was little. I don't remember X's and,
Mm-mm.
and that's what it's very frustrating because people try to say it's not true. Well, then why are states like Tennessee, why did they ban them? So I
Yes.
think, yeah, I think our sky is toxic. It can be, especially if you're in certain areas. And I've noticed a big difference since moving from Ohio to Tennessee. And you're in Kansas?
I live in Kansas City area. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it is, we should be looking up. We should be thinking more. We should be having our soil tested. I don't believe in organic anymore. I hate to say that. I'm a gardener, but there's no way that we can have anything that's grown outside. Let me phrase it that way. That's grown outside the organic, because it is naturally picking up uh, unusual chemicals from the sky. Now, I also have a system on my biomeridian, the MSA, the IHT equipment that I talked about, and I have a whole category for chemtrails. And a lot of people come in and they have a lot of the chemicals. It will pick these up. It will just tell me. And do you have time for a story, Jen?
Yeah, love it.
This was 15 years ago. I lived in Bolivar, Missouri, out in the middle of nowhere, and I had learned the biomeridian, and I had a home office. And so people made appointments, you would think, but one day a guy walked in and just, drove into my home area and wanted a screening. And so I'm testing him and working with him, and he's a great big guy. And all of a sudden I say, "Oh my goodness, you have a lot of things connected with chemtrails. Have you ever heard of chemtrails?" Now, this was 15 years ago, Dr. Jen. And
Okay.
this big man just put his hands up like this and just, hit him on the desk and just about like this. And he's going, "Are you? You know about chemtrails?" And just literally screaming at the top of his voice, asking me, it's like, "Are you from the government? What are you doing here?" And I'm going, "Wait a minute, you're in my home. You came to see me. I got him to calm down." And he tells me the story that he used to live somewhere in Arizona, and him and a group of friends were trying to prove the existence of chemtrails.
No way.
And they would put on camouflage outfits and go up to the fence. I don't know what their equipment was 15 years ago, and they were filming airplanes taking off. And what they noticed was that the pilots were getting sick. They were disappearing. They were seeing some obituaries, they were seeing all kinds of scary things. And then all of a sudden, he says that they felt that they got sprayed and they were hurt on purpose. So this group of 4 or 5 men disbanded. And this man came from Arizona up into a really small town in Missouri. And the first time he walks out or drives out for help, me, the person I'm holding his hand, I'm saying, "Do you know anything about chemtrails?"
Right. Wow.
Was that worth
So
telling? I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
no, did you keep in touch with him?
No, because he wanted to be very secretive. Yeah.
Secretive. Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I was able to make
that's
up
so
a
interesting.
homeopathic remedy to detox him from chemtrails, and that's what he
Right.
was working with.
Wow.
So
That's wild. Well, and that's the thing. We need to, I think we need to attack it from all the different standpoints, supplements, movement, make sure we're getting good sleep, make sure we're praying, and then make sure we're doing all the other things we can. And this is something that I use. So why not use sound frequency? Low side effects. There is research on it. Really just do all that you can. I mean, I love biohacking in so many ways because really we need to, because yeah, we have toxic soil, sky, and unfortunately we have to battle it. But, praise God, we have different ways to battle it, and we have knowledge, and use discernment on what you should use and what you shouldn't, right? Because there are some things that are not so good, that are
That's
real,
right.
and you don't want to get mixed up in.
No, no, that's very true. And with the biomeridian, they had frequencies for stones. And I had a very close friend that taught, Bible classes and things. And she said, Linda, I think those stones are very strange. They're not right. And I said, I think you should read your Bible and learn about all the ways that stones are used in the Bible. And she came back and she was so relaxed, and she's going, oh my goodness, even the rocks will cry out my name, you know? And so for a long time, I've really been fascinated by frequencies of rocks, and how everything has a frequency. The bees are talking to the plants with frequencies. I am just amazed at how everything really does talk with frequencies.
Mhm.
There's just so many stories about that. So that's why I get more and more excited to know that the Wave Watch has frequencies that we can absorb that can rebalance your body in many, many different ways. Um, just so many ways.
That's great, Linda. And your story is beautiful. And I love your heart also. So can you share with everyone how to find you and your company?
Sure. So all you have to do is just go to buy.wavewatch.com on the internet, or just Wave Watch, and it's spelled WAV for waves and vibrations. Wavewatch.com is another way, or buy.wavewatch, excuse me. And I'm on the site. I also have every Wednesday, I have some kind of a Zoom call, and you can click in on that to join the wave call. Leave your email address, and you'll get advised of the time of the Zoom call and what the topic is each week. And, I've spent a couple of years now trying to teach people a lot of different ideas about frequencies, and especially how to put them together on the Wave Watch. But again, everything changes. I upgraded the Wave Watch, changed the shape, made it a little smaller, 40% lighter, and have it waterproofed, or almost waterproof, water resistant, and have rearranged the frequencies so that people have easier times to use it and can use it very simplistically.
Awesome. That's so amazing, Linda. Thank you so much for being here. And we will link how to get a Wave Watch below, and the information about bras. And if you use code Dr. Jen, you can save $100 on a Wave Watch. So that's also great for you guys. Yes. So thank you so much for being here. And we appreciate you sharing your story and your heart.
Well, thanks for asking. And stories are what the world goes on. People connect with people if we listen. And if I can say one more thing, I hope you can see my love sign behind me. Guess what's the most prominent frequency in the world? The best frequency, the one that changes our lives. It's a frequency of love, 528. So
that's great. Love it. Love learning so much from you. Thank you so much.
thanks.